All right, let me get my notes here. Because I gotta write stuff down. I want to clear up some things I said in the last video. Talking about escaping the ghetto or so-called black community. If you follow me on my channel, you know that my experience in this country has been that more racism goes on in our head, and it goes on in our hearts more than anything else. Also, I just got done doing a series of videos on calling flattery. Some to agree, some to not so much agree. Because I feel, and I'm pretty sure that many black folks feel the same way I do, that the laws are the laws. The fact that black folks in large numbers don't follow or keep up isn't a label. You want black folks to keep up, just make them keep up. It doesn't matter what color those that don't keep up are. It doesn't matter what color those that do violence are. If someone's doing violence, they must be stopped. It doesn't matter whether they're white, Chinese, Asian, or whatever. But I think the form of racism that we don't pay attention to in this country, more so white folks, is the fact that you need to label it when black folks do it. But when white folks do it, it's not called white. It's just crime. You know, like calling flattery, for example. If black folks are doing crime, it's called black mob violence. But if a white person was to do it, it wouldn't be called white anything. It would just be crime. See? That's where I get a little ticked off. And that's why I've been making a series of videos. For the first time in my life, yelling back at white folks, because most of the time in my life, until I've met YouTube, I've always, couldn't understand what black folks are fussing about, what their problem is. What's the big deal? And now that I've been abused verbally, they can't, thank God, they can't touch me. But I've been abused very verbally by a lot of different white folks on a lot of different channels on YouTube. Everything from atheism all the way to calling flattery, being called the N-word, to being told about my responsibility to the welfare system when I don't even collect welfare. Just judging me, just misjudging me, and saying all kinds of things to me. But my concern, my heart goes out to black folks, because I understand that, for one, all my life I've understood that black folks need to evolve. And I've said this all over my channel. Black folks need to evolve, number one. But number two, on the flip side of it, like what I've been going through lately, with this whole discussing the calling flattery ordeal and all like that, is that black folks, racism ain't going nowhere. It is the black folks that get ahead, that are trying to get ahead and trying to be different, that are really going to go through some things. And so you haven't really experienced racism until you've experienced a war going on between you and those that don't want you to succeed, that don't want you to get ahead. And I've been in that war. I've come in there dressed properly, with the right attitude. Okay? I've come in there even listening to country music. I've come in there with everything from my driver's license to my bumper stickers. Legal. And the more and more and more sometimes that you try to be everything that you should be in this country, white folks will attack you because it's like either you're beneath me or you're above me. There is no, we're on the same level. White folks, a lot of white folks will not accept that. You're either beneath me or you're above me. They don't never see you like this, black folks. A lot of white folks. They never see you like this. It's always beneath or below. And they'll clown you for being below. But if you're above them, they'll get angry. And I just got done talking about this on the last Call and Flattery video that I've seen. And I've met white folks that get angry because, I'm living good and they're not. And they make a racist thing out of it. Try to act like I got to be selling drugs in order to drive my car. Or I got to be selling drugs in order to have a nice job. How stupid is that? But I sympathize with you. As well as I sympathize with white folks for some of the mess when black folks don't want to evolve. When they don't want to keep up with the rest of the successful population of this country. Okay? And when, you can be ghettofied, and an Asian person can be ghettofied, and a white person can be ghettofied, and a Mexican or Spanish person can be ghettofied, but it's only the black person that's doing violence or doing crime. Just like I met some Asian folks, and I said this in another video, in a supermarket the other day that was acting real ghetto. I met a white lady earlier today at the library that was acting real ghetto. But one thing they wasn't doing is crime. They weren't doing violence. Their mama don't have to look at them in the paper involved in a shooting or go to court and watch them be taken out of the courtroom in handcuffs. And I gotta admit, this is a lot more going on with black folks than any other race. And we need to put a stop to it, black folks. We really need to put a stop to it. But anyway, I want to be clear on what I said in the other video. Don't get me wrong. There are good blacks and good whites that live in these ghettos. Let me say that again. There are good blacks, good Christian blacks who got a good level head and a good level heart and a good level motive within themselves that live in these ghettos, as well as good whites that live in these ghettos. My neighbor is a good white man. My landlord is a good white man. The guy that lives 2 doors down from me is a good black man. And I can see the difference between them and other white people in this ghetto. I can see the difference between this brother and a lot of other black people in this ghetto. Okay? But what needs to be done is we need to keep up. We need to evolve. All of us that are lagging behind. Don't let the successful, educated, level-minded people beat you at everything. Pick yourself up. And even if you have to look at them, and I'm getting real deep here, even if you have to look at them and copy them, it's better to copy people than to be left behind. You know what I'm saying? And they do that in sports all the time. You do a play, and your opponent is constantly beating you. You start watching your opponent and you start fighting or playing ball like him. They do it in MMA all the time. Your opponent starts throwing a lot of kicks and he's beating you with kicks. You start kicking back. Your opponent starts boxing. You can't get him down. You want to get him down, but he's throwing all these punches and you can't get past his punches. What do? You punch back. Okay? That's what we have to do as people that are low income. This is what we have to do as people who have been raised in dysfunctional families. We have to get on our feet and we have to look at our opponent and see how they're whooping us and beating us at everything. And we have to try to beat them at their own game. See what I'm saying? Not that you want to literally beat them and beat them down, but you want to be where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with being honest and admitting that to yourself. Okay? Okay? Coney Island, 1981. My aunt had moved to New York, to Brooklyn. And my mother, she had talked to my mother and begged my mother for some time to come down. And she talked to me about it, and I was excited. I always wanted to, everywhere I went with the church. We went to Florida, we went to New York, we went to different places, but now I knew that I'm going to New York to see actual relatives of mine, so we went. We went down to New York. My aunt lived in Brooklyn, and my cousin and his 4 sisters. And when we went down there, we drove into Queens. We drove into all over Brooklyn, the Bronx, and we went to New York City and we went to Manhattan. I don't think we went to Harlem, but I think we went to Queens. I'm pretty sure we went to Queens. I'm pretty sure we went to the Bronx, what is called today the Bronx. We went to Brooklyn, and we went to New York and Manhattan. And my Uncle Glenn was driving, and he showed us years in that little driving around New York that we took hours to do. He showed me a history of violence. Everything from black folks to Russians. Everything from black folks to Russians. I even had the opportunity to get a ride through my first shootout, which almost escalated into a shootout anyway. And then when we got to Coney Island, that was later on that night, we got to Coney Island. When we finally got to Coney Island, guess what? The gangbangers started some mess in Coney Island, and the police had to shut down Coney Island. So we couldn't go in and enjoy the rides in the park and all like that. That was the first time I really got fired up about some of the crazy things that black folks do, because I understood that the gangbangers at Coney Island were black, whichever they were, and I knew that there were other gangs out there like the Mamas, and stuff like that, but Spanish gangs and stuff like that. But it was the blacks that caused Coney Island to be shut down that night. That was my first time getting really fired up about it, about the situation of black folks. And that goes all the way back to like the late 70s. 1981, I believe, is when we went to Brooklyn. So I can understand, I can sympathize with white folks that are sick of a lot of nonsense, because whatever racism was going on between blacks and whites, that ain't why they shut down Coney Island. Matter of fact, if they was after any gangs, if it was a gang problem, it wasn't a white gang that they got into it with. Okay? It was either another black gang or a Spanish gang. But it was I forget which black gang it was. My Uncle Glenn told me. I forget what their name was. But they had to shut down Coney Island, the whole park, and made everybody evacuate. Well, they didn't make everybody evacuate. They wouldn't let anybody else in. They shut down everything, and there were certain parts of the park where they made everybody back out because they were all over the park, and there was gangbangers getting arrested everywhere, especially in the groves. And they found a place in the park where they were going to get together and fight, knife each other or whatever. And there were some people that got hurt in the process, not knowing what was coming. They got injured, and so, and I'm sure there's probably white folks that got injured. But that was something that went down that shouldn't have went down, and I remember that vividly. As a child, I started to see an epidemic growing among my people. There was just, retarded, just crazy. Like, come on, black folks, this is Coney Island. You should be here to ride. Not here to come in here. What you come in here for if you don't want to get on the rides? What you come in here for if you're not here to enjoy the park? The price of tickets costs the same for black folks as it does for white folks. Why are you here? You going to pay for tickets for gang violence? You're not here to ride? I know that there is life more to life than the ghetto. I know that. The things that trouble me about black folks, about black communities, as I said earlier today, there's no such thing as the black community. I don't believe in it. I believe there's African Americans, and I believe there's different cultures of African Americans. We are divided, as I said earlier. We are divided by money, politics, culture, and religion. Okay? We are divided, and some of this division is good, because black folks have sinned against the Lord. They have failed the Lord. So I'm glad that I'm not a Muslim. And a lot of black folks think that is all black. No, that's Arab. It was Arab back in the days when black folks was in the Bible. It was Arab then. Read your Bible, okay? Christianity actually is the faith that black folks knew other than voodoo. Okay, that's a different video, but Christianity wasn't always a so-called white man's religion. It was black folks that allowed it to be a white man's religion, because just like the Jews, the black folks felt the Lord. Okay, so I'm glad that we're divided by religion. I'm glad we're divided by politics. Because, like I said earlier, I don't know if I said it on this video or on the Colin Flattery video, but I'm a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for Donald Trump because I'm an idiot. I didn't vote for Donald Trump because I'm an Uncle Tom. I didn't vote for Donald Trump because I don't like black folks. I voted for Donald Trump because these white folks that are escalating today into this liberal nonsense are getting on my last nerve. They ain't acting any better. Okay? It seems like the racist white folks of back in the day act a little bit more better than these white folks. But now, these white folks of today are letting anybody, any old body come up in here and multiculturalize. Anytime you sit there and you want to crack some black labels about, welfare and dysfunctional families and all this stuff. But it's okay for Muslims to come in here. It's okay for ISIS to come in here. No, we need a Donald Trump. We don't need no more Barack Obama. I'm sorry, black folks. Because Barack Obama was in the Muslim pocket like you wouldn't believe. He was sucking. He was on his knees with them people. Excuse me, Christians. I don't mean to get nasty, but I'm sorry. Frickin' Barack Obama was kissing some Muslim behind. And if you think that is not a problem for black folks just like it is for white folks, this is why I don't support blackness. Because it's like the difference between New York and Pittsburgh. My cousins showed me this because they were living in New York for years before they moved back to Pittsburgh. They let me know everything that happens in New York. New York always has the latest news. Pittsburgh is the last person to get it. Happens in Los Angeles, makes its way to New York, and then Pittsburgh's the last people to know. You didn't know what happened over here? Well, that's because you're in Pittsburgh. That's the way black folks are. They're the last people to catch up. That's why I say we need to evolve. We need to keep up because we're always the last people to you know what I'm saying? Here it is 2017 and some black folks just now talking about trying to get out of the ghetto. They should have been talking about getting out of the ghetto way back here when gangbangers was causing Coney Island to be shut down. 1981, we've been going through this nonsense. Come on, man. But some of the things that trouble me about the so-called black community, let me say them real quickly. Crap that all races do. Crap that all races do. Like, for example, out here in my neighborhood, there's more white people walking dogs than there are black folks. What are these white folks doing? Letting their dogs poop right on the sidewalk. Okay, there's white folks out here who just live like bums and they don't know, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not violent. But everything else, oh my goodness, the ghetto is no longer a black thing anymore. It's a low income, dysfunctional thing for any race. Just like I said in another video, we got Asians up here that don't know how to, just nasty Asians. You know what I'm saying? Just nasty. They're nasty, they look nasty in these ghettos. Okay? Crap that all races do. The attitude of all races, okay, just seems to be beneath those that live in the better neighborhoods. And then I hate when black folks try to keep it black because that's what the white folks are doing to you. Don't try to keep anything black. Don't even call it black. You know what I'm saying? There is nothing positive about rap music, except the fact that it now makes a little bit of money. Okay, and even these black rappers don't have nothing to show for it except and a bunch of tattoos. Okay, and piercings. That's it. Okay. And that's just an example, but I'm just saying, don't let anything, okay, single you out, including calling flattery, as black. You are an American. You need to worry about where you stand in this country as the American country it is. What you should be doing is trying to keep up with the rest of America. Trying to say, well, I'm black, I shouldn't have to do this, or I shouldn't have to do that, or I'm black, I shouldn't. You know what? You're right. But where are you gonna go? What's gonna happen? You're gonna be stuck in some ghetto somewhere with your baked beans and hot dogs, always looking for the prices at Dollar Tree to go down. It's only $1 now. You wanted to drop down to 25 cents for a pack of for a 6-pack of oodles and noodles. Come on, black folks. Come on. Come on. Come on. We need to evolve. We need to keep up. We need to keep up. But black kids should grow up in more positive families. As I said before earlier today in another video, part one of this video, black kids need to get out of loitering and get out of all these different things that don't produce intelligence, that don't produce education, that don't produce jobs, money, don't produce functional family, don't produce love. Black kids need to get out of trying to make a name for themselves by excluding themselves from white kids or excluding themselves from whites. We just got to do better, folks. We just got to do better. But as I said earlier today, the ghetto is not for you, black folks. And maybe, I got family members who have great jobs, but they've always felt that they should live among black folks. And what did that turn into? What did that come about? They have racist feelings towards anyone that is outside the black community or anyone that is not black. And where did they get that from when they've lived in the black community, supposedly, all their life? Okay? I think they would have been more open and able to have a better future and a better life for themselves and put a smile on their face if they had stepped out of the black community, stepped out of the ghetto for a minute and learned how the other half lives. And even though they have great jobs, they live a life that's always crying the race card. Why? You've never had to deal with what other black people have gone through. You got a great job. You have a successful family. But yet, you hate white folks. Why? Because you've never lived around them. You've always been stuck in the black community. So you mean to tell me that one little white lady that works down at Rite Aid ticks you off, and that makes you out of what? You can count on one hand how many white folks work in your community. Come on. I don't support blackness. I don't support the so-called black community. I don't believe it even exists. And I don't support anybody holding on to the ghetto. That goes for white folks, black folks, the cops, everybody. Let them ghettos sink. Get everybody out of them and then let them sink. Tear them up and turn them into something good. In all the neighborhoods that did that, I can show you several neighborhoods that where a millionaire came in and bought the neighborhood and drove out the thugs. Yes, 95% of the thugs were black. But he drove out the thugs because money drives out those that ain't got it. Okay? They drove out the thugs. And guess what? Even though a lot of black folks had to leave, they left with the thugs because they didn't have the money to be there. The black folks that still live there are now in peace, in harmony. And they don't have to worry about it. Now you got more black folks that are like me and more white folks that I'm used to moving into these neighborhoods. Because now somebody, some genius decided to turn this neighborhood into something good. Regardless of the cries of racism. Regardless of the cries about, we're supposed to just hold America up for people that don't want to keep up. And my last statement that I want to make to you black folks is keep up. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep up. Keep up. Because trying to stay in the ghetto, trying to only stay within what is called the black community, which does not exist, okay, you're fooling yourself. Get out of there. Try to be focused on being an American. Forget that black stuff. Focus on being an American. There is no such thing as a nation living within a nation. But we are all Americans here. And if we're not, those that ain't Americans, those that ain't proud to be Americans, you lose. And that is the truth. So, hope this helps. And subscribe, like, dislike, leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening.